Experts and at least one former U.S. ambassador have cast doubt on Donald Trump's meeting with Kim Jong-un and the president's weird claim to have rapidly developed a very special bond with the dictator. The historic summit between the pair was described as theater and a show, and a former senior general expressed concern that Mr. Kim's profile had been raised significantly without a major concessions on his part. In-Bum Chun, deputy commander of South Korea's First Army until 2016, and now a senior advisor to the Korea corporate members of the Association of the U.S. Army, said the show put on by Mr. Trump was very exciting. But he said he still needed to see detail of North Korea's intention to commit to comprehensive, verifiable, irreversible dismantlement of its nuclear arsenal. Economic incentives for Pyongyang should come after denuclearization, he said, but at the same time, humanitarian activities and humanitarian aid can, I think, be inserted as incentives. There is a very big possibility, as well as a danger, and it might not even be intentional by Kim's design, that the dictator could emerge from the summit with his reputation strengthened even if he does not stick to any agreement, Jen Chun added in an interview with BBC Radio 4's Today program before details of the signed document were public. Michael McFaul, a former U.S. ambassador to Russia, tweeted, "How does one develop a very special bond after a few hours of meeting? That's really weird to me with anyone, but with a North Korean dictator." When detail of the document signed by Mr. Trump and Mr. Kim became known, including that Pyongyang had committed to work toward complete denuclearization of the peninsula, Mr. McFaul added, "It means our negotiators achieved nothing new, not one new concession in exchange for legitimation sick of North Korean dictator." It was a similar commitment to that made by Mr. Kim to Moon Jae-in of South Korea in the Panmunjom Declaration earlier this year. Experts have previously told The Independent that Washington and Pyongyang have very different definitions of denuclearization. One former U.S. State Department official said that, to the North Koreans, it meant the removal of the threat posed by us, not them, referring to the thousands of U.S. troops posted in South Korea and the so-called umbrella of other forces in the region. Singapore Summit, historic first meeting between Trump and Kim Jong-un. 20 Show all Singapore Summit, historic first meeting between Trump and Kim Jong-un. 1/20th Mr. Trump and Mr. Kim leave following their historic meeting. AFP Getty 2/20th Mr. Trump and Mr. Kim sign a document committing to peace between their nations, amongst other things. EPA 3/20th Mr. Trump holds up a document that both he and Mr. Kim have signed. AFP Getty 4/20th The two leaders reach out to shake hands for the first time. AP 5/20th Mr. Trump and Mr. Kim shake hands as they meet for the first time. Reuters 6/20th Mr. Trump and Mr. Kim walk off stage following their historic meeting. Reuters 7/20th Mr. Trump and Mr. Kim take a stroll after their meeting on June 12th. Reuters 8/20th Mr. Trump and Mr. Kim interrupt their stroll to talk to the media. AP 9/20th Mr. Kim and Mr. Trump look out over a balcony at the Capella Hotel, where they held their meeting on June 12th. Reuters 10/20th Mr. Trump takes questions at the press conference following his meeting with Mr. Kim. AP 11/20th Mr. Trump appreciates the crowd in the press conference following his meeting with Mr. Kim. Getty 12/20th Mr. Trump travels to the Astana ahead of the summit with Kim Jong-un on June 12th. Reuters 13/20th Kim Jong-un travels to the Astana ahead of the summit with President Trump on June 12th. Reuters 14/20th Mr. Kim poses for a photo with Singapore's Finance Minister Vivian Balakrishnan and Education Minister Ong Ye Kung ahead of the summit with Mr. Trump. Twitter Reuters 15/20th Mr. Trump shakes hands with Singapore Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong, meeting on Monday, June 11th in the Astana, Singapore's presidential palace. AP 16/20th At a working lunch on Monday, Singapore's Prime Minister surprised Mr. Trump with a birthday cake, an early celebration of his 72nd birthday. Later in the week. EPA 17/20th U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo answers questions about the summit at a press briefing in Singapore on Monday, June 11th. Getty 18/20th U.S. President Donald Trump arrives at the Paya Lebar Air Base in Singapore on June 10th. 2 days prior to his summit with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. Reuters 19/20. Mr. Trump and Mr. Kim met on Tuesday, June 12 in the Capella Hotel on the island resort of Sentosa, just off the south coast of Singapore. AFP Getty 2020. Mr. Trump boards Air Force One following the summit. AFP Getty. John Nielsen Wright, Cambridge lecturer and senior fellow at Chatham House, said Mr. Kim's public confidence enhances a sustained public relations win for a number DPRK press operation that hasn't put a foot wrong since the Pyeongchang Olympics. It is what we should expect from the theater state, he added in a tweet. He called the summit the triumph of style, albeit aspirationally worthy, over substance. In the document signed on Tuesday, the US and North Korea also agreed to recover and repatriate the remains of soldiers missing and captured during the Korean War, establish new relations, and build a lasting and stable peace. Mr. Trump said the meetings, held on Singapore's Sentosa Island, went better than anybody could imagine. Asked during his final appearance with Mr. Kim what surprised him most during their encounter, he said the dynastic dictator had a great personality and was very smart, which he described as a good combination.